Hey everybody, it's me, Gypsy from Smallwood Homestead. And now, you're in my kitchen. I haven't done a cooking video before, ever, in my entire life. But today's a special day for me. It's Mabon, which is the second harvest in the pagan belief system, the pagan faith, or Wiccans, or there's Druids, lots of different traditions fall under the umbrella of pagan. I just say I'm pagan. And I have to apologize for my messy kitchen because I have been busy all day. I've made beer bread and I had pumpkin coffee, and I'm trying to celebrate the harvest by doing things that represent that. So what I'm doing now is actually getting ready to make my butternut squash. And I don't know, I just kind of make it up as I go along. This is the way I've been doing it for many, many years. I've already cut my squash in half, and I'm going to, I have my compost here. I'm going to be cleaning it out, and then I will peel it. And I've already washed my hands. I didn't want to bore you with that, but I thought I would just kind of show you what I do. And you know, the seeds are easy to get out if you just use a spoon. Kind of scoop it a little bit. I have saved some of these seeds for next year for planting. So I think that will be nice. Now, my spices, I don't know, I've been told that they're a little unusual because I mix both sweet and savory in this recipe, and I don't really measure anything, so you'll have to just kind of take my word for it of what I'm doing. I will show you. I have onion, and this is dried onion that I dried in my dehydrator and then chopped up. I use cinnamon. I use ground cloves. You can use whole cloves if you want, but then you got to pick them out, you know, when you get ready to eat, and I don't like to do that. I have rosemary that I had dried from my garden. I also have powdered ginger. And here's where it gets a little odd. I have elderberries, dried elderberries. And I use margarine. You can use butter if you want to use butter. And since it's just me, you know, I have a relatively small butternut squash. And what I will do if there's a lot left over is I will probably blend it up and then make butternut squash soup. So right now, I'm making a roasted butternut squash. Put everything in my compost bucket there, except for a few of these seeds. And I've got them on, I'm just putting them on a paper towel for now, and they'll dry. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because you got to peel it, or I do anyway. But the way that I do, I have a bad spot on this one, I noticed, so I'm going to have to, see, that's bad. So I'm going to have to cut around this bad spot. Good thing it's just me here. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh, looks like I got a little more there. So cut that out. Now, for me to peel it, I like to cut the larger piece into smaller pieces and then slide my knife down and peel it off. And you got to be careful, of course, when you do this. But I've been doing it this way, well, let's see. I'm going to be 50 in October. So I've probably been doing this since I was a teenager. I love butternut squash. I love butternut squash soup. I love butternut squash ravioli. I have always liked butternut squash. And I've always found ways to cook it, different ways. When I make my soup, you know, I take my roasted butternut squash and I blend it, but I add a few more things. I'll add some cream, I'll add some sour cream, and I will also add more onion because I really like to have the onion in there. And I'll probably add garlic as well when I do the soup. But right now, I'm just going to make the baked or roasted butternut squash. I have my oven set to 350. And this video will have to be in 2 parts because to show you the end result, I don't have the equipment or the program in which to add 2 videos together. I don't know how to do that with my phone, so I apologize. That's why most of my videos are part 1 and part 2. But this will be part 1, will be the getting it ready for cooking. And then part 2 will be taking it out of the oven. Because this is a harvest celebration, you know, you use harvest vegetables. When my children were little, I would make a big vegetable bake. And it would have butternut squash and potatoes and sweet potatoes and corn and carrots and onions and tomatoes. I mean, it would just be everything, you know, the kitchen sink. And we would have pumpkin pie and apple pie for dessert. And they loved it. They loved this time of year. We would go to the farmer's market, or we'd go to our local co-op, and we would get the different vegetables and fruits that we needed, or that I needed, to make the meal. The kids would make painted pumpkins and decorate the table. We would get out all of the, you know, similar things to Thanksgiving, actually, to American Thanksgiving, as far as decorations go, with the exception of turkey. The decorations would be, you know, gourds. We would make gourd rattles. Boy, that part just does not want to come off. We would make gourd rattles. We would decorate pumpkins. We would decorate squash. You know, a little bit of everything. Grab some zucchini. We would get out all of the harvest colors. Orange and gold. Kind of a mustard color. You know, an autumn red. All kinds of fun things like that. And like I said, Mabon is the second harvest. The first harvest is actually Lunasa, which celebrates the god Lugh. We are going into the darker times now. When it gets to Samhain or Halloween, that will be the equivalent of a pagan New Year. So now what I'm going to do is chop this up. And I like big chunky pieces myself. So again, since it's just me, I am going to cut these into kind of cubed pieces of about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. That also, about that size, you know, they cook well. And if I get any that are too big, like that, that's kind of big, and just cut it in half. and, you know, make it fit. And like I said, I do have the oven set to 350. And I will probably cook this anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes. I just want to make sure that it's good and done. And because I like big chunky pieces, I know that it's going to take a little longer to cook than, say, a smaller one. And no, I have not prepared my pan yet. I probably should have done that before I started cubing everything. But that's all right. What I like to do to prepare the pan, and yes, my hands were clean before I started, is I just grab some butter in my hand and I grease the entire pan. And you see I'm using just a glass Pyrex pan. This is actually my harvest dish. I love this. This was my mother's, and I grew up with this dish, so I like to use it for Mabin. And it has a lid, which I also like. And I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Okay. Sorry about that. And you can see, yes, I do have a lot of dishes because of all the cooking I've been doing today, so I do apologize.